Dave knows how.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video we're going to look at installing a spool valve on the Kubota tractor for some rear remotes. And everybody that I've talked to has recommended putting at least a 3 spool valve. This spool valve that I bought is actually a 2 spool valve. I feel like that's probably all I'm going to need, and it's really all that I think I have room for to squeeze in here, because generally they mount the spool valve up on the ROPS, and I don't want to do that. I want to try to mount it to the right of where the seat is. So the first thing I'm going to do is kind of locate exactly where it's going to go, and we're going to put it right down in here. I'm going to try to be careful that it's not interfering with this lever for the 3-point and any wires or anything that we got down in there. And I'll try to bring the camera over a little closer so you can get a better view. Okay, so hopefully you can see a little bit better now. What I'm thinking I'm going to do is I'm going to mount this thing right here. We're going to try to get these levers to come up right around in here, and we're hoping that this will not interfere with these levers. It's maybe a little bit close, but we're gonna give it a go. See if we can't work it in there some kind of way. So what I've done so far is just kind of got an idea where we're gonna put it at, leaving enough room on the front side for a Parabeyond port to be used. And on this back side back here, we're going to have to use the front ports as opposed to the side. On this valve right here, they've got the inlet valve on the side, but they've also got it set up where you can actually use this port and take this and stick it in here and plug it and use this port as the input port. So we'll use this input port, I think, and we'll use this back to tank port. And then we'll have to use this port for the Parabeyond, for the Parabeyond port. So that's kind of the direction we're going to go in. So I'm going to try to go ahead and get this hole drilled. And we're going to try to do this without taking the fender off the tractor and a whole bunch of other nonsense. And got a little bit of cutting fluid. Put a little cutting fluid on that. We're going to go ahead and drill the first hole. So there's our first hole. Looks like we got plenty of room back there. Go ahead and wipe that off. And I went yesterday and measured for some bolts, and it seemed like these 5/16 bolts fit this thing, so we're going to go ahead and throw one in there. Got a nut to go on the back side if we can get it started. Keep on driving it. Let's see. Keep on dropping this nut, trying to get it on without screaming and cussing. Don't want to upset the neighbors. Alright, there it goes. It started. So what I'm going to do now is, since I got one nut and bolt on there, we're going to get a wrench and we're just going to go ahead and tighten that up on there tight enough so that it holds it in place, and then we'll see exactly how much clearance we have and whatnot, and get the other hole marked down on the bottom down here that's gonna stabilize it this way, and get that hole drilled, and make sure we're not gonna hit anything, and hopefully we can get all these bolts in without having to take this wheel off and the fender off and all that goofy stuff. Okay, so as you can see, we've got the first screw in, the first bolt in. We've got it tight where it's going to hold it up here, and we've went on and screwed this knob on. Okay, just to kind of get an idea of what we're looking at. Okay, now obviously this is hitting right here, okay, and pushing it this way, we've got a long travel, and when we put the seat down right here, the seat's going to be in the way. So this is something that we're going to have to overcome down the road. This is where I want this thing to be at, and so that's where we're going to keep going in this direction, try to put this thing down here, and ultimately our goal is to move these handles that are right here, and hopefully this is the one that's the most forward. It goes right there, which is going to put it about right here, and that should be out of the way of this handle, and we're hoping that we can get all this to kind of work out some kind of way. But we know that with these right here that the seat's going to interfere, and I can bring the camera around and show you that later on. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to see if we can get the drill. You know, I had an angle drill. I had one of those DeWalt right angle drills that you plug in, and I paid right much money for it. That darn thing grew legs, and it walked right on away from here. I don't understand it. People like to, they like that I got tools. Some people even complain about all the tools that I have, saying I have too many. But people don't mind borrowing them, but they sure do have a problem bringing them back. Anyway, I may end up having to go buy another angle drill. Unfortunately, you pay more now for a electric angle drill, which is what I'd rather have, a plug-in type. You can buy a battery angle drill. Of course, it doesn't come with a battery. You got to use your existing battery, but you're still looking at over $100. Anyway, we're gonna see if we can't figure out a way to get this drill finagled down in here to drill this next hole. Not sure that's gonna happen. Doesn't look like it's gonna happen, because I need to get in to this hole. It's not looking like that's gonna happen. Let's see, maybe if we pull this off, stick it in the hole first. And bring the drill down here. See if we can't. Nah, not gonna happen like that. I guess we're gonna have to take the seat off. That'll give us a little bit more room. Maybe we can get it done with the seat off. We'll start taking the seat off, which you know, you can slide the seat part off by pulling this pin out over here. But I'm thinking that might be better unbolt the whole frame. Okay, so we managed to get all 3 bolts. You know, the bolt holes drilled, got 3 bolts in there, and they're not, you know, completely tightened up yet. They're kind of loose, and I'm thinking about maybe putting a backing plate on there just to tighten it up to keep it from moving around too much. I know I'll have to put something underneath here because there's a little gap under there, but we'll get to that down the road. Right now I want to concentrate on trying to figure out getting the plugs for the back and where they're going to go at, and getting the hose adapters and all that kind of stuff so that I can will kind of somewhat have everything ready to go, and then it'll just be a matter of measuring the hoses and find out how long the hoses need to be and get the hoses made up. So I'll probably go ahead and take this back off. And I'll run it up here to hydraulic plates. See about getting some fittings. Alright, so moving on with the project, I went on and cut some plate steel. I found a piece of stainless steel plate laying around the yard out here. Cut 2 pieces, basically about the same size right here, and this is going to be for mounting quick connects for the hydraulic lines on the back of the tractor for our rear remote. So I just kind of went on and drew some lines on here and found the center and drilled a hole, put a bolt and a nut through that hole and bolted the 2 plates together, and then went on and drilled another hole down from that line and got that hole in there, and went on and got a bolt and a nut and through that hole. So I've got 2 plates here that are bolted together. And now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to draw our next lines to locate where we're going to put our quick connects at. So we'll run over here to the truck and grab the quick connects, and we'll kind of show you what they look like. Okay, so what we got is we got the quick disconnects right here, and that's what's going to go on the back of the tractor, and we're going to mount two on one plate and two on the other plate, and I've kind of laid out some lines and center punched for where we're going to drill at. And when you put these on, you have to use one of these adapters that you unscrew this, and then you basically bore a hole this big, so you stick that through there and tighten that up on there, and then this screws down on this end like so, and that's how that works. Expensive, man. I mean, it's fucking criminal what they charge for these daggone connectors. I paid nearly, well, by the time I bought 4 of these and then 4 of the males to go inside, and they only had 3 of these. I still got to go back and get another one of these. Oops. Anyway, just those few items was almost $200, like $179. Now, granted, these are very good quality connectors, some of the highest quality connectors you can get. So, you know, you get what you pay for. Could I have bought some China cheap connectors for, you know, this one connector right here was $27, I think. I could have bought maybe a China made connector for $15 a piece. You know, but if it fails, and then I've got to go back and pull it out and do it over and, you know, replace it time and time again, you know, is it really worth it? So, but for for $27, I would have thought the little fancy thing to plug the end of it, you know, the little, it comes in different colors, I would have thought one of them would have came with it. You know, for $26, I would have thought the male would have came with it and the cover for both of them, but it didn't work that way. So I'm really learning something about how expensive hydraulics are. Anyway, right now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to bore 2 holes in here. We got a drill set up in the drill press, and just to get our initial starter hole, and then we've got to go back and drill a hole big enough for that nipple right there to slide down through. I haven't measured it yet, so I really don't know what it is, but it's probably close to 1 inch. It's pretty close. Probably about 3/4, 7/8, maybe, somewhere in there. All right. I'm not gonna bore you to death with me boring a hole through here. You've seen enough of that. Take 20. Okay, so we got our hole drilled through there, and our little thingy here fits right in there. So basically, and we got 2 of these plates bolted together, so there's actually 2 plates here, and this is going to slide through. Whoops, can't hold on to nothing today. I have those days. And then this is just going to screw on the back of here, and that's what holds that on there. And then your quick disconnect screws onto this end, and that's where you plug your hydraulic hose in. So we got 2 of these, 1 for each side. We'll put 2 of these hydraulic connectors in each one of these plates, which will give us 4 hydraulic connections on the back of the tractor. The next thing that I'm going to work on that's kind of worth talking about is where these 2 bolts are, where these 2 holes are. This is going to be where the U-bolt goes through to U-bolt this to the ropes on the back of the tractor. So I measured the rope across there. It's 2 inches. So what I did, I bored my first hole and put my first bolt in, and then allowed for this bolt head and then measured over to where my next bolt was going to be. Now, to add this in the center is 1/4 of an inch. So you got 1/4 of an inch here, and then you got 1/4 of an inch on this side, so that comes out to 1/2 an inch. So basically my holes are 2.5 inches apart is where I drilled these holes, and that's how I located these holes. And I actually went a little bit further than that because I like to make my own U-bolts. And I like to make my U-bolts out of threaded rod if at all possible. But I don't like the idea of having a U-bolt resting directly against my painted surface. Because I know with the vibration of the tractor, what's going to happen is it's going to rub the paint off of that painted surface. So what I like to do to try to eliminate that problem is I buy this clear hose, okay, and the inside diameter of this clear hose, you can push this bolt, this threaded rod right up inside here. So what we're going to do is we're going to feed that on up there, okay, all the way. Go ahead and pull the ticket off. And we're going to keep on going until it's nice thing about having low ceilings. And you just push that thing right up against there. So we've got this whole threaded rod now covered with hose, clear hose. You can see the threaded rod inside. Now that we've got it covered in hose, now what we're going to do is we're going to come over and we're going to mark how far that rope is. So we know the rope is 2 inches this way. We need to measure it this way, and I think that's 3 inches, but I don't really remember. I have to go down and measure it again. But we're going to come down what that other dimension is for the long part. Okay, that's going to get your nut on there. We're going to come out there and we're going to add about 1 inch to that to make it about 1 inch or 1/2 inch longer. Give us room to put that plate and a nut on there. And then we're going to put a mark, and we got a bender in the back there for bending steel and whatnot. I picked it up, I think, at Northern Hydraulics. And we're going to go back there and we're going to put this in the bender with the clear hose on it. And we're going to bend this with the clear hose on it. We're going to put our first bend. Then after we get our first bend, then we're going to measure over from the inside of that bend over to the 2 inch mark. And then we're going to add the dimension of this threaded rod to that. And so we're going to go a little bit further and put a mark, and then we're going to stick it back in the bender, and we're going to bend that next bend. So that's going to give us our U-bolt. And we're going to make sure and dry fit it, make sure it's going to fit on there, and tight, loose, whatever, doesn't matter. As long as it hits them holes, it'll be good enough. Then we'll trim off the excess hose, okay? We'll cut the hose where we need it with a razor knife and pull it off the end, put the bolts on and bolt that plate on, bolt it in place. So we're going to go ahead and take a measurement, and we'll go ahead and make our first bend. As you can see, we've got this thing in here. We've got the square block here, we've got the flat block here, we've got a small round block on the backhand side. And right here at the edge of this block, we've got a black line marked. And we mark that black line 4.5 inches from the end. We're going to try to keep this flat on the bottom. We're just going to pull this on around until we bend a 90. Okay? If you go a little further than a 90, that'll be fine. It don't really make that much difference. Alright, and then we're going to pull this on out. We did go a little bit further than 90, so we'll pull him back just a little bit. And now we've got our first 90. Okay? Now we're going to go back over here to the tractor, and we're going to set it up on there, and we're going to mark where the next 90 is going to be. I'll be right back, and we'll go ahead and get that done. Okay, so we're back over here looking at this, getting this second bend done, and what we want to do is this next line, we just leaned this up against the ropes and marked it where the other side of the rope is. And if you look at this thing, you'll notice that where we marked it the first time is actually around the corner. So we're going to come on past the mark just a little bit, or maybe right in line with the mark, and that's where we're going to bend it at. We need to make sure that this is level with this, and if this whole machine was on a level ground, we could put a level across here, and that would tell us. But since it's not, we're just going to kind of eyeball it and pull it right on around. And we're going to go a little bit further than we need to go, because we can always bend it back a lot easier than we can bend it in the other direction. Pull this out. Okay. And hopefully you can see that. We're going to take it on over here to the tractor and do a test fit. Okay, so here's the piece of plate. And if we lay this on the plate right on top of them bolt holes is where it's going to go. And as you can see, it's pretty daggone close, okay? So it's, you know, it's close enough that it's going to fit on there. We kind of squeeze this together a little bit. We ought to be able to push them right on through them holes right there. Put some locking nuts on there and tighten it on up. And with this rubber hose, is going to grip pretty good. It's not going to scratch the paint. So when we pull this up tight on there, it'll pull it up tight on the back side. It should keep it from slipping. We'll go ahead and trim this hose and get this hose to fit on there where we want it, and then we'll trim the threaded rod off to fit so it's not, you know, protruding out. And when we mount this thing, we're actually going to mount it in this direction, and the plate is going to be on the back. So pretty much the plate is going to be like that. This is going to go just like that. We hope. Okay. As you can see, it's a pretty decent fit. Not a whole lot of slack in there. So we've got a tube coming out over here. We've got a threads exposed over here. We're going to take a razor blade. We're going to come on back here just past this radius, and we're going to mark our spot. And that's where we're going to cut right on around, just like that. Keep right on cutting all the way around, and then give it a little twist, pull him off, and there we got it. Now all we need to do is mark where we're going to cut this, take a hacksaw, whack it off, and more than likely we'll just go ahead and get the bracket. And well, actually we won't be able to cut it when it's on there, so we kind of need to cut it before we put it on, because this thing's actually going to go on this way, and that piece of metal is going to go on the back side, and that's going to put our plug like right in this area right here. So that's kind of what we're shooting for. I'm not real sure about the height. I don't know if it's going to be up here. It may be down here. I haven't made up my mind yet. We'll get to it. Okay, so this is how I'm thinking they're gonna go. Is like this. We just got two of them mounted right there, and it seems to have plenty enough clearance to plug in. And then we got the other one, which is directly across right there. And so we're missing one that goes underneath this one. And the brackets, they turned out pretty good. It took, it took a little while to knock the edges off and, get it shaped up right so that everything fit, like it's supposed to. But it relatively went together pretty easy. Anyway, got a measure for the hydraulic hose. Probably be one of the next things we do. I ordered the part. I ordered the fourth valve, and it should be here by Friday.
Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.